All right, I think we're here now.
I think so. Hello, Sam. And happy Frugal Friday to you too. All right. Checking my phone to make sure it's showing us as being live. And it does. All right. All right, so we are picking up with our monthly live stream where we have been going over 50 frugal tips for 2024. And this is part 4 because we never just get through it really fast.
That's right.
But we talk, and that's the point. We get to chat with everybody in the live stream, so it takes us a little longer. We love it. All right, so we are picking up on number 25. Yes, that means we have not even gotten through halfway.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. So we might finish with these 2024 tips by the end of 2024.
Maybe.
We'll see.
All right.
As a note, before we get started, you'll see a short video later today. That's just a channel update from us where we're basically going to tell you what we're saying now, but we want to make sure that the video gets to, in case people don't want to watch the whole live stream, that they'll still see it in this very short video. But next Monday is Labor Day, and we always take off for the U.S. holidays. If you've been around for a while, you know that. So we won't have a video Monday. We will have our podcast video on Wednesday as normal. But then after that, our son, daughter-in-law, and our little Minnie, our granddaughter, is coming for a visit, and they're staying for a week. And so we won't be having any videos during that week. So I don't know what the dates are, but it would be the second Monday and the second Wednesday.
The 9th and the 11th.
The 9th and the 11th, we won't have videos. And so we will come back on the third Monday with grocery haul videos.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Hello, Leisure. Okay, now that we got out the little, what do you call it? Little notes, the little housing notes or whatever.
Trivial trivialities.
The trivial trivialities. We can start going through this list.
All right, number 25 is to eat meatless meals.
Is Joel going to ever do that?
Oh, I don't know. I may have done that before.
It is pretty rare for us to get something that doesn't have at least eggs in it. He's a meat and potatoes kind of guy.
Eggs isn't a meat.
Well, yes, but usually when people think of meatless, they're probably thinking more along the lines of vegan or vegetarian. But it's going to have at least eggs. So if we eat eggs and grits, you could say that's meatless. But other than,
I would definitely say it's meatless.
Okay, other than a breakfast option like grits and eggs, he's probably not going to go for meatless. But is that a good way to save money?
Yeah,
probably.
If you're not buying a lot of chicken and beef, it probably is.
But on the flip side, it will caution you that if you go meatless, like completely, like go vegan or something like that, you need to make sure that you know what you're doing, so that you don't have and talk to a doctor so that you don't lose some nutrients, because meat does carry nutrients that you can't necessarily get as easily from plant-based sources. So you don't want to cause yourself to be malnourished because you're cutting out meat. So make sure that you talk to someone who knows what they're talking about, and don't just say, okay, I'm cutting out meat. Because then if you get sick and go to the hospital because you are malnourished, it's not going to help. And one of my nieces was vegan for a while, and she did end up in the hospital, and part of it was malnutrition. So it can happen. Okay.
Scoot over a little bit. My face looks like it's kind of in a shadow right there.
How about that?
That's better. Okay, that's better.
Okay, just fixing something. Okay. Too many carbs if meatless for me. Yeah, that it is like that. Like if you go meatless, then there is a chance you're gonna eat more carbs.
That's right.
So and it might be cheaper, but you do have to decide if that's worth it for you. And for me, I can eat like for lunch when I eat kale salads. I can put chickpeas on it and stuff like that, and I don't necessarily have to have any kind of meat on that. And then for breakfast, I can do like overnight oats, and again, that would be meatless. So I can do it, but for breakfasts and lunches. But generally for dinner, we have meat source.
Yeah.
So, but it is a way to say.
All right, jumping off the meat bandwagon or the non-meat bandwagon. Number 26, frugal tip number 26 is get rid of your storage unit. One main thing you probably noticed with frugal tips is getting rid of things you're not using. Find out what's important to you, and then only pay for those things. So if you have a storage unit that you're not using to its fullest, then it'd be recommended to get rid of it.
And even if you do have a storage unit that's being used to the fullest, then maybe you need to look at that storage unit
because
and see.
There are probably things that you haven't used in years.
Yeah, if you're storing it, do you really need it?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like we go through our garage every once in a while just to see if there's stuff that in there that we haven't used in a long time.
Yep.
And there's still some things in there that we just haven't been able to break ourselves. Like old memories and stuff like that we're like, it's hard to let go of memories. But sometimes that's something that, if it's costing you money to hold on to those memories, it might be time to, like a lot of people say, like, take a picture of it and, keep that memory in a picture. You don't necessarily have to have the thing if the thing is staying in a box all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right. The next thing is read money books. There are some valuable information, some motivating stories and practical advice in money books. If you haven't read any of those, there's some listed here. We haven't read any of these, so the article recommends these books, but we don't recommend them because we haven't read them yet.
Yeah. So don't come at us. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe that'll be my personal growth book for November, because I already done a personal growth book for September. I read that in August. So
yeah, when we were doing that 28-day thing, we were supposed to read 10 pages every day. And so he finished whatever book he was on, and he started this other one because the 28 days had not ended. And so
I was determined to finish it before August ended. So, and I did.
Yeah,
so.
he went ahead and read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was going to say, we haven't read any of those. Maybe they should be our personal growth book for September, is to choose one of those and see what we think. If they're on Kindle.
Here are the titles: Work Optional, Retire Early, The Non-Penny Pinching Way, The Year of Less, Quit Like a Millionaire, Simple Path to Wealth, The Millionaire Next Door, and Meet the Frugal Woods. Maybe that would be interesting to read. We'll try to check out some of these. These are recommended from the article that we're reading from, but like we said, we haven't read any of those yet. So
yeah, and there is a link. We do have this article linked in the description, and in their article under this number 27, it also says you can find a whole list of personal finance books that they recommend, and it's a link. Yep. So you can also choose that link to see if you want to get some more suggestions. Also, we didn't note this at the beginning, but let us say this: if you have anything that you'd like to add to our tips, or say no way to, or whatever, let us know in the chat, or if you're watching on the replay, let us know in the comments.
Frugal tip number 28 is be frugal when giving gifts. And so here's some tips here. Number one is buy secondhand. Maybe if it's, we'll see. If it's something of good quality, maybe so.
Yeah, it would have to be really good quality to me to give it as a gift. Like, don't like, or like buying them something without knowing whether or not it actually works. We were given a gift one time that was purchase at a discount store, and it was in a box, and we pulled the thing out of the box, and it just like was in pieces. It wasn't even like functioning, held together or anything like that. And so I appreciate the thought behind it, but you know, be sure to check out boxes. The Hummel at the thrift store. Yeah. If you know somebody who likes bric-a-brac, that Hummel would have been a nice thing to buy for sure.
Yeah.
You know what that was?
No.
Is the little boy in the video that was like fishing or something, and it was a whatnot. You know. Anyway, it was in the video, in our video. It was in our thrift store.
Oh, okay.
A Hummel is art. Yeah.
Okay. So buy secondhand. The second thing there is to give the gift of time. If you know someone that needs like assistance, or give them your time. If you need new parents that maybe need a night out, and you want to give them a gift of time and watch their kids for them while they go out, something like that.
And you get the joy of having a little fun with some children.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wrap gifts in recycled materials like newspapers or paper bags. Do Secret Santa instead of buying gifts for everyone. That's a great thing that you can do. Draw names or do Secret Santa. You don't have to do it for everybody. So
yeah, if you're in a company, like there's a way for it. Like when your restaurant does Secret Santa, y'all have a way to kind of like give each other ideas on what to buy.
Yeah.
You also have like a
Elfster, something like that.
And you also have like a spending limit or something.
Yeah, like $20.
Yeah. So all of that is good. As far as the family goes, you could do Elfster. I don't know if that's available for.
Yeah, that's available for anybody to do.
And then we use Giftster with our family, and it's a way for each of us to know what each other wants.
So we're buying things that they're going to use, and not say, "Oh, I don't really need that." So.
Right, and then they end up with something that they don't even like.
Yeah.
And you can put varying price things like I'll give Joel's as an example. He's got things from T-shirts to like maybe a backpack that costs $59 or something like that. Like he's got various ranges of priced items. So if you don't have as much of a budget, you can pick something that's on the lower range, but you still know that they want it because they put it on the list.
That's right.
So a list is really good too. And Secret Santa.
Next thing is host a potluck dinner instead of going out to eat or cooking for everyone. That's a good thing. If you host Thanksgiving or a Christmas dinner, then say, hey, why don't you bring this and you bring this and you bring this. Yeah. That way you don't go out to eat, and you're not responsible for cooking for everybody.
Yeah. That's good.
And then make homemade holiday decorations. Chrissy's done that before. We haven't done it in a while, but early on, she made a lot of Christmas ornaments and things that we still use. Some of them we still use today.
Yeah.
So that is a good thing too. Just a few things that you and your family could try. I'm gonna close that blind up. That's what's causing the shadow when the sun comes out.
There must be clouds out there, because what I'm thinking is every time a cloud passes by it, it's causing the light to change. Okay, hopefully that's better.
Yeah, that's much better.
We also, you can't see it right there because we got it turned, but we got a curtain for our front door.
It's right there.
So that's why we're not getting as much reflection behind our heads as we normally do. There we go. All right.
All right.
You can see it now.
Frugal tip number 29. That's right.
I can't figure out how to point to it. There it is.
Okay. Frugal tip number 29 is to get paid to complete surveys online. Chrissy does a lot of this, and we've used a lot of this for our gift giving at Christmas time.
The payment when we get paid out.
Yeah.
I don't do as much as I could. I could be getting so much more if I spent more time doing the surveys. What I normally do is I just I do them like maybe while we're watching TV. And there's a list of survey companies on here, but like one of them is called Survey Junkie, and it's like 4 or 5 questions and you get 10 cents basically. And so I don't have to really think very hard about those surveys when I get the 10-cent ones. And so I'll knock out a few while I'm sitting there. I know it's not a lot of money when you say it that way, 10 cents, but hey, it was more than I would have made just sitting there focusing on the TV screen.
That's right.
So.
And so here's some that were recommended by the article: American Consumer Opinion, Survey Junkie, Swag Bucks. We do that one too. Inbox Dollars, we've done that. Branded Surveys, One Opinion, Pinecone Research. We do that one. Prize Rebel, My Soapbox, Opinion Outpost, User Interviews, Springboard America, and Vocalize.
I've done Springboard America as well.
Sorry. You can edit that out and post.
Sure, I can. And another one is that they didn't mention is a new one is Rakuten now has a separate app that is for surveys. So you have the ability to get surveys from Rakuten as well.
Yep. Frugal tip number 30 is negotiate your car and home insurance bills. Insurance is necessary. But sometimes you pay more than what you need to pay for car and homeowners insurance. So you can negotiate those down. We went through a thing a few years ago with our home that we owned up in Tennessee and found out that we were paying way much more than we should have been for home insurance. And we switched because the company didn't want to. We were like a month away from renewing with them, and they didn't want to switch because we were within 30 days of renewing. And they want to talk about lowering our price.
They said they don't do it at this time of year.
So we said bye-bye and switched companies and dropped our monthly mortgage payment by about $100 because we switched insurance companies. So that's something to think about.
I don't think a lot of people realize that when they get a mortgage, if the homeowner's insurance is bundled into the mortgage price, they don't realize that they have the ability to change more insurance companies.
Yeah.
And they really should, because the mortgage company, we didn't know what we were doing. We're first-time homeowners. They set us up with a company that was from stationed out of New York State. We lived in Tennessee. The home prices between New York State and Tennessee are ridiculously huge difference in the value in those homes. And because we, quote, had a certain size home, it was valuing our home as if we lived in New York State too. And so when we decided to look somewhere else, we talked to a company that had a regional office. We were able to talk to somebody in person. And they were like, yeah, we can come look at that. And they knew what home prices were in our state. So they were like immediately like, yeah, no, this is not, your home is way overvalued. And they were able to lower our insurance just because they knew what the prices were supposed to be in our state.
That's right.
And so that is a huge one. Never be afraid to shop around for homeowners insurance or car insurance. If you don't like the prices that are being offered, or if you look at it and you say, oh, that's not as good as what I currently have, then don't pull the trigger. But look, because you never know. Because, like we look for car insurance every time that our car insurance is increased. We will look at other companies and see if we can find one. Well, this past time it went up, and we looked at other companies and we saw the only ones that were offering anything less was also downgrading what would be paid if we actually had a car accident or anything. So we're like, no, we're not going backwards just to save money. We're going to keep it where we are, even if it means paying a little bit more. But if we hadn't looked at all, we wouldn't have known.
That's right.
So always be willing
to negotiate.
Always be.
If you have an agent, call your agent and say, hey, this is what I'm looking for. Make people tell you no.
And if you really like the company and they keep going up on the prices, and you find another company that's able to offer you the same thing for the same amount, then you can always call back that original company, your current company, and you can say, this company is willing to offer me this for this price. What will you do to keep me?
Yeah.
And see if they really want you enough to give you some kind of promotional deal or something.
Yeah. That's right. Next frugal tip is research before you buy. So do your homework. Don't just buy something and then realize later you could have got it less expensive somewhere else.
Yes.
So do your research on the things that you buy, and make
That
sure
goes
you're
all the
getting
way
the best
from
price.
all the way from groceries to things that cost $50, $60, $70 don't and higher, like cars and everything. Like do some research and see what the best value is. And read the reviews on products, but with a cautionary mind, because some people are just never going to be happy.
Yeah.
And they're going to leave rude comments and stuff. But if it's a lot of them, then you should start questioning whether or not this thing is actually as good as people say it is.
That's right.
Or the price. Like you have to start questioning the value if there's a lot of negative reviews.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Yep. The next frugal tip is to save money on your next vacation. If you want to learn how to be frugal but not cheap, then you still need to take vacations. We do that, and so
well, you don't need to, but if you want to,
yeah. Some of the favorite ways to do that is be flexible with your flight dates. If you're taking a flight, be flexible with your flight dates. A difference of a day or two can sometimes save you over $100 per flight. Most booking websites will let you choose a flexible date option to browse rates and dates. So be flexible if you're flying. Be flexible with your flight dates. For tourist destinations, you might want to go into the mid or off season instead of the peak travel season. For a lot of places, summer is the peak travel season, so you might want to go in the wintertime. You might get better rates on your hotels and things like that. Stay in an Airbnb. Airbnbs often offer much more affordable than a hotel, and sometimes you can get a bigger space with more amenities than you can with just a standard hotel room. So like an Airbnb, around here you can get a house with 5 or 6 bedrooms, themed bedrooms, and kitchen space and people's own bathroom space, and it's just better than staying in a hotel a lot of times. So
it's really, I think, kind of according to what kind of situation you're going to be in with your trip, like what are you looking for? So like if you do an Airbnb and you go to Disney World, then you're going to have to drive a little bit every morning to get to Disney. You're going to have, you're not going to have some of those amenities that you can get from the hotels. So you have to take that into account. You also have to consider, do you plan to cook, or you just really just need a bed, like things like that, which Airbnbs, I'm sure there's some that are just like that. It's not like a whole kitchen set. If it's a house, how many people do you have traveling with you? Like things like that should be considered in it as well. Right. Like if you're like a big, huge family and you're going to need a lot of room, an Airbnb is probably a lot better than getting separate hotel rooms. And, you can actually spend time together when you're not actually, just out eating in places, because if you were in a hotel room, you probably wouldn't spend as much time with each other when you were in your hotel.
Yep.
But I digress. I also wanted to say with the flight thing, look at like we typically use Delta because he has a Delta card through that he uses sometimes for work. So he gets Delta Sky Miles because he's using that credit card for work expenses. But if you're not wanting to do that, also be willing not only to change the dates, but also like try different airline companies. So like you can get this like from Expedia, Trivago, places like that. It would give you different flights and with different airlines. So, like Spirit or Southwest or something like that is probably going to be a lot cheaper than something like Delta. You just got to be willing to like look around. That's right. But if you do have a rewards card because of work or something like that, then like Delta or American Airlines or something like that might be a really good one, because you can build Sky Miles or whatever American Airlines calls it, and that will help you, because like he gets one companion one companion ticket every year. And so sometimes when we take a trip, he pays for his ticket, but I get in free. And he also gets the Sky Mile Clubs thing, and I get in for free. And that way we don't even have to buy food in the airport if we have a layover, something like that. And then also he's building Sky Mile points, which he can use to take off of his, so that he's not paying the full price for his flight.
Right.
So all of those things kind of help if you have that situation.
That's right. Frugal tip number 33 is join a buy nothing group, a BUI nothing group. And we've seen some of those pop up on Facebook here in our area.
Now, we're actually a part of the
we're
group.
a part of one in the group.
But we haven't done much with it. Our group is very strict on their rules, and I'm almost scared to actually comment on anything.
Yeah.
Because
things go pretty quick too. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. But it's kind of like you can't use certain terminology. You can't say this, you can't say that, you can't. And you can, and for our group, you can only be in that group if you live in this subdivision that we live in, or like this actual part of the community. Like you can't be anywhere else in Orlando and be a part of this group. You have to be in this community.
Yep.
So it's got a lot of rules. So, but as long as you have to like read all of the rules and say that you read them all and you understood them all before you can even post anything. So there's a lot of rules, and I don't know how other places do them. I don't know if all of them are that strict, but you know, if you are willing to read through them all and know what you're doing, then
good to go.
Yep, good to go.
Frugal tip number 34 is open a high yield savings account. We've considered this. We haven't done it yet, but we've considered it because you earn money on what you save. So if you're planning on leaving in there over a long period of time, then that may be an option for you to earn a little money on those interest rates on those high yield savings accounts.
Right.
Yeah. Frugal tip number 35 is visit the local library. You can get books for free at the library.
You did that Buy Nothing group?
Yeah.
Or the open yield savings account? Anyway, we do not have a local library in our community.
That's
I know
right.
that's shocking. They're supposed to be building one about 3 miles from our house. Savings account, yeah. Our bank account has a pretty high, like our checking account has a pretty high rate, but it's not as good as it would be in a savings account. So hopefully we'll get things moved over there before too long. But we had that little snafu with having to use the emergency fund, so we don't have anything in a savings account at the moment. But hopefully soon. But anyway, the library, there is some in Orlando, but they're not in our community. So they would be quite a drive for us. But if you have one, like I know some people have one within walking distance. And when we lived in Houston, there was one that we could have walked to. You know, that's a great way to save money, is to get it from the libraries.
That's right. A lot of things, even more than just books, you can get like movies and music, and some of them have like cameras and telescopes, things like that. You can rent out as well. So you just want to go to the local library and check it out. You never know what you're going to find there.
That's amazing. I didn't know they would have GoPros and telescopes. That's
see if I can rent a GoPro.
Yeah, run with it and see if you like it. Yeah.
The next frugal tip is have an emergency fund. We preach that a lot on our channel, to have an emergency fund, and we're continuing to build ours as well.
Pans.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
And so you want to have an emergency fund, something you can fall back on if something happens, and maybe you have job loss, or you're out of your income is cut for a little bit. Then you have that emergency fund you can fall back on and not have to go into debt for it. Frugal tip number 37 is find free local activities. And you can Google this on your interwebs. Free and local activities in whatever city you're in or whatever city you're going to or whatever.
Free and cheap.
We did a lot in Houston. We did a lot of free and cheap things. I think one of the most interesting things we did was for $10 a person on a Sunday afternoon. We went to the National Funeral Home Museum just north of Houston, and that was an interesting afternoon. They had a display of the Batmobile there that day. That's one of the reasons we went.
The old school
Batmobile, from the 60s TV show Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of the reasons we went, but we found it a very interesting thing to do.
Yeah. And he was like, I can't not get a chance to sit in the
That's right.
OG Batmobile.
That's right.
So that's why we went. But yeah, it was an interesting museum for sure, just having that kind of theming, you know.
Yeah, if you do a quick search of your area, they'll show you a lot of free and cheap things that you can do.
Mm-hmm. A lot of things that people probably overlook for the more popular attractions in the area.
Yep.
Yep.
The next frugal tip is to buy secondhand, purchasing used furniture, clothing, or thrift stores, things like that. You can buy those things. One thing that people don't consider, it's called used or pre-owned, but cars are one thing you can buy secondhand, and you can get them a lot cheaper than you can buying them new off the lot. So that's not mentioned in this little article, but it is something that you can do. That you can buy secondhand, buy your car secondhand, save up for them, and then buy them in cash.
Yeah, and they don't have to be like old. Like my dad would go and buy a secondhand car that was like 20-something years old. You don't have to be that old. It could be 2 or 3 years older, and it's already going to have a reduced price.
That's right.
Because the value has depreciated in those 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 years. But like our last time to buy a used car, we bought a 10-year-old one. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
And when we bought my car, which is the one that we've had the longest, we bought that when
it was 5 years old when we bought it.
Yeah, it was 5 years old when we bought it,
and
but we've
now
had
16 years old. We've had it for
11 years.
11 years, and the car is 16 years old now. So it's still going.
Yeah. It's not pretty. It's got chipped paint and stuff, but it gets us where we're going.
That's right. The next frugal tip is use a water filter instead of buying bottled water. Now we do that. The place where we rent here has a water filter system in the refrigerator. But even if you don't have that, you can buy one to put on your sink nozzle that will filter your water for you.
Or one to put in the refrigerator.
Yeah, or a jug thing to put in the refrigerator that has a filter on it.
Which we have one up in our cabinet in case we ever move somewhere that doesn't have one in the door.
That's right.
I don't know if we'll be able to find filters when that day comes, but we have one.
Yep, we got one.
We got a jug.
So consider that if you're looking to save money in that area.
We did a do the math reel or shorts on this channel one time that was price comparing the price of buying it. I mean, it's a couple of years old, so I'm sure the prices are nowhere near what they were then. It's probably much more. But we price compared buying the bottles versus buying the jug versus buying the one for the sink and the one for the door. And as you might expect, each one of them was a little better value than the one before. So the refrigerator one was the best value, but and then buying bottled water was the least value that you could get. You're going to buy a lot more. Is going to be way more expensive, which we do buy bottled water for our house, just for in case of hurricanes, and we just have them here. And if we have one, because if you don't have power or water, you're not going to be able to get it from the filters. That's right. But hey, Miss Deb, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us.
The next frugal tip is to downsize your home. You can save on rent, you can save on taxes, you can save on insurance, save on maintenance and upkeep. If you don't need a 5-bedroom home, then downsize to a 3-bedroom, downsize to what you need. So yeah.
We did that when that's good. We did that when when we moved to Houston from Tennessee. We went from like a 2,000 square foot home, which, Tennessee prices were really reasonable, to a less than 1,000 square foot apartment.
Yep.
So, and it was, it wasn't extremely cheaper because we were moving from Tennessee to Houston, and Houston isn't exactly cheap on housing.
Yeah.
But it was cheaper. Like buying a house there would have been way more. So, but I'm not saying you necessarily have to go from owning to renting. I'm just saying going from a bigger house to a smaller house would have been a frugal decision. Besides, you get the profit from selling a bigger house, and then you could put it on buying the smaller house. Yep. It would have helped.
Yep. Next frugal tip is to mend your own clothes. If you know how to sew, that's probably a good thing.
I know a little, like how to sew buttons on and stuff like that, but we don't own a sewing machine. So right. I'm limited to the amount of mending I can do and stuff. But if you have a sewing machine, for sure, and definitely learning those little things like how to stitch, where you might have had threads coming loose or a button come off or something like that is helpful. Just in that, like, you don't want to just look at it and go, oh, the button fell off, throw it in the garbage.
Yeah.
No, don't.
Yeah.
It's not that complicated to sew a button.
That's right. Next frugal tip is to go out for lunch and not dinner.
I get the point of that.
Yeah, going out to eat is a big expense. So if you're going to go out to eat, you might want to try lunch, because they do have a lot of lunch specials that you can try. And then they're usually almost pretty much the same portions. I know when we go to Disney a lot, we do kids meals over there because they don't care.
At most places.
At most places. If you're doing a mobile order, they're not going to ask you if
where's your children?
Where's your children at? Let me see
where's your children?
So a lot of times we do kids meals when we're there to kind of save on costs while we're in the parks. And so that's something you can think about, is go out for lunch and not dinner, because the price is usually more at dinner, and then you have the lunch deals they have.
And not just at a place like Disney, but a lot of fast food places don't care. Not saying all of them, but a lot of them don't care if an adult walks in and orders a child's.
Sure, we have them at our restaurant all the time. Adults come in for lunch, they order a kid's meal and going about their day.
Yep. Yep. And they just hold on to their ice cream.
That's right.
But I would say that with lunch, and I'll also say this is not everyone would agree with this, but breakfast can be cheaper than going out for dinner too. And so, like, sometimes Joel and I'll go somewhere for breakfast instead of dinner. Like when we have our goal meeting where we sit down and we go through all our goals, that's always a breakfast meal for us, because it can be cheaper to do it that way. Is according to where you go, obviously, but getting breakfast out can be cheaper than a dinner for sure.
That's right. Next frugal tip is to plant a garden. If you have room for that, we don't.
We might
could do some small things.
We could do some of the planter type things. But we don't have much room for that. But we could probably do some herbs and stuff. But if you have space for more than that, I mean, like, it can be a great way to do it if you do your research. Like for us, we're in Florida, in Central Florida, and so we're in a different zone than a lot of people. Our zone, it's actually not safe to plant your garden until like September, because otherwise the heat will burn it up. So it's all according to where you live. And so make sure that if you have never gardened before, that you do some research and know what you're doing, what time of year you should be planting, stuff like that, for the best garden possible, because you don't want to do anything to either freeze it if it's wintertime or burn it if it's the South.
That's right.
Is that all?
No, there's a couple more, but it said 50 plus, but after 44, it just stops. Unless some of these are
counted as
more than one.
It's
but
weird.
Yeah.
Why would you say 50 if it's not actually 50?
Don't know. Because that's what I was scrolling back through for, just to see.
Trying to see what happened to the numbers.
Yeah, what happened to the numbers? Because right here, 44, and then you go, what's the difference between being frugal and cheap? How can I be very frugal? And then that's the end of the article. So anyway.
Okay, so apparently we only have 44.
We have one more thing to do, and then we're going to be done.
Oh, wow. I said in the beginning we might finish this before the end of the year.
And we will. Frugal tip number 44 is to fix things when they break. We're not talking about fixing your air conditioner, okay? That probably requires a tech or, putting in a new electrical socket or something, a light switch or something like that. That may not be, that may be above your pay grade.
Don't do anything to get yourself electrocuted.
Please. But you can fix leaky pipes under your sink. You can fix clogs in your sink. You can do those things. You can replace a tail or a blinker light on your car. You can do your own, change your own oil. You can unclog your own drains. You can tighten loose knobs and screws. There are a lot of things you can do in your home that'll save you a little bit of money, as far as opposed to hiring a handyman to come in and do it.
Right.
And so we've learned to do a lot of those things as well. Patching drywall, that's on the list, but that may not be up your alley, just because of the things you have to buy for that. But
this is the thing that we've learned. Go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And search and see, and I'll bet you there's a video of somebody doing it.
Somebody's doing it. That's right.
Yeah. And so anytime that Joel's questioning, how do I fix this thing on my car? How do I do it? A lot of times it's a YouTube video.
Yeah, it is. And there are some people, thanks Leisure for that. There are some people that can't do things, and that's okay. But if you can, and you're able to, and you can learn how to do it, then there may be a way to save you some money in the long run.
My car is a hybrid car, which means it has the regular car battery, and then it actually has an extra battery.
A hybrid battery in the back.
That is actually behind the back seat is a hybrid battery, and it basically is supposed to help so that the battery isn't constantly being used, the front one, and it's not pulling from the gas, because it's not only using that front battery. So Joel learned, what happened was the hybrid battery went out, and we didn't think anything about it. We just kept going. Okay, hybrid battery's not working. It's just going to work like a normal car. Well, then we found, but it caused the check engine light to be on. And when we lived in Houston, you have to get a car inspection, and you can't have your check engine light on. So we're like, we're gonna have to do something, or we're not gonna be able to get our car inspection done, which means we can't get our car tags or anything done. Would be, so we're like, we got to do something. And so we were looking at the price of going to the dealership and having them replace the hybrid battery, and it was expensive. And so Joel just started doing research, looking around. He found YouTube videos of people who bought the hybrid battery themselves and replaced it themselves. And it was way cheaper than getting a dealership.
And easier than you think. Taking out the back seat. The only thing is the heaviness of the battery itself.
It's a heavy battery. It's not
you need two people to do it.
It's not like a battery you put in the front. It's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, it took a lot just lifting it up into position so that he could put it back there. But once he did, it was really literally just popping it into place.
Yep.
But it saved us thousands and thousands of dollars because he searched YouTube to see if he could do it. Like I said, not everything is there, but there's been a lot of times how to replace the battery and the little key fobs on the car. You know, things like that that made him not have to pay for a new key fob from the dealership, which expensive, right?
Yeah.
So it's just sometimes things like that, and it could be even something little like, and I know he uses this at work too, because one of his jobs is actually to handle the maintenance of the restaurant. And sometimes he has to Google how to fix something that is equipment in the restaurant. So YouTube and Google have been really helpful in the maintenance of different things around our house.
That's right.
I hear you. I probably would be struggling too, especially if it meant lifting anything like a hybrid battery.
All right. So that's all of them. If you're watching this on the replay, drop us in the comments below and let us know what your frugal tips are. We'd love to hear those.
We're missing 6. Throw in 6 if you have.
That's right. We want to thank everybody who's been in the chat today. Appreciate you. Appreciate your input. Appreciate your support and being here today. But I think that's going to do it today for our live stream. We're Joel and Christy for the long run. Joel and Christy. And don't forget, it's a long run. Give yourself a little grace. Bye guys.